Welcome everyone to Train Tuesday, a special Train Tuesday. I want to thank you for joining us. If you're joining us live, thank you. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule. If you are watching us on our YouTube channel, thank you. Hopefully you like the content. If you do like the content that we deliver on a weekly basis, please do us a favor, like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. That way you're notified every time a new video like this drops into the YouTube channel. And comment. It helps out the algorithm, and we like the algorithm to stay consistently about trains. If you're like me and you're off time watching YouTube, put a comment in there. It really does help, and I do enjoy the interaction. Now, speaking of live, let's see who is joining us tonight. I've got live comments off to my right, and I see that Jason True, how are you? 2018 is here and joining us. Richard is here. Mike, Ronald, Sparky, Charles Woods is here. DG Model Works is in the house. BN Green 1970. And Bradley, just to name a few. We got about 61 of you guys on board. We give it a little bit of time for some more folks to join us. Briefly, we're going to keep it pretty casual tonight. I do have a presentation for you, pretty short, but it's mainly going to be talking about what we touched upon last week. We did not anticipate as many pre-orders as we did on certain projects, and we have reopened them, but you've only got a limited amount of time. The projects that we're going to show you tonight, you have until Friday the 16th to pre-order, but the good news is we've worked with our factory, and our factory has assured us that if you pre-order one of these models tonight, you will get it this fall. So let's see who else is joining us here on the live feed. I see Kyle, Richie, Frederick has joined us as well. Tim O'Gould saying good evening to everyone. And let's see, who else do we have? Anthony has just joined us. So thank you guys for taking time out of your busy day to watch us. Now, before I get started, like I said, I do have a presentation, but I also have a special guest. I've brought aboard Tony Cook. If you're not familiar with Tony Cook, he is the editor of Model Railroad News. He's been with White River Productions for many years. He has helped me out in the most extreme ways, mainly with prototype pictures. So anytime you see a prototype picture, you can thank Tony and Kevin Udaley. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get Tony on board. Good evening, Tony.
Hey, Jim, how you do? Is it too late to keep saying Happy New Year? Are we past that? I think it's still Happy New Year time.
I think it's still Happy New Year. It's what, 13th? Yeah, it's good. So Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. How are things going? The weather's been nice. You're in Illinois, right?
Yeah, I'm currently in Illinois. I'll be going home next week to get ready for the big show. But yeah, the weather has been good. Where are you calling in from this time?
I am back up in Missouri right now. So yeah, I'm not knocking a few things out while the weather up here was about as good as it was down in Texas. So yeah, not bad.
There you go. So you're enjoying that weather as well.
Well, yeah, the only thing I'm not enjoying right now, this is the first time since 2014 the Chiefs have not been in the playoffs.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I've had to I was excited to see the Texans beat the Steelers last night. I've been kind of following the Bears. It seems odd. It is almost like, if you went into a hobby shop and it's like, well, there's no Athearn stuff. There's model trains. Like, where did Athearn go? Like, what's going on?
What is going on? It's like we're in some kind of,
it's not right.
I say a Netflix reference, The Upside Down.
Yeah, something like that. So there you go. But
the good news is we're not in the Upside Down. And the good news is we are going to have the opportunity. If you're like me, now, Tony, you're the editor of Model Railroad News. For the folks that don't know, I'll give you a second to kind of, talk about that a little bit. But you deal with announcements from multiple manufacturers, and I have a hard time sometimes just keeping up with all the stuff that we're doing. So I didn't pre-order either one of these, and I kind of am kicking myself. And the good news is there's some redemption tonight. But before we go further, Tony, for anybody that's not familiar with you and your role, give us a quick overview.
I've been the editor of Model Railroad News since 2011, which doesn't seem like that long ago, but it is starting to be. And it's a White River Productions publication, monthly magazine that covers all different scales in model railroading, new product announcements, new product reviews. And boy, as you say, yeah, the news stuff when I first started 15 years ago was kind of, to fill the publication, and it didn't seem like there was a lot of product out there. But now as I've told you, it literally is, I could do the magazine twice a month and probably still be thinking, boy, I wish I could give it a little more space for this or that. There is just so much stuff announced, so much stuff coming out. It's really incredible.
Yeah, it makes me glad that we went to a 60-day pre-order window, because a lot of people have said, they really appreciate that. It gives them a little bit more time to kind of take it all in, because, man, with everything coming in, every time we come out with a new announcement, it's over 200 SKUs. That's a lot of stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it'll come and it gets past me to where something's coming out and I think, well, okay, how did I forget about that? So,
Right.
and it's like, that's what I do. So there's that much product out there. It is amazing.
It is. It really is amazing. Now, for folks that are joining us on the live, I do see your comments. They're right here. But if you do have questions for myself or Tony, stick around a little bit after Tony and I talk about these trains a little bit. And you're more than welcome to submit your question in the chat. If I catch it, I'll put it up on the screen and one of us will answer it for you. Because again, we enjoy the interaction, don't we, Tony?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Love talking about train stuff. Yeah.
Almost as good as going to a train show.
Which you've got, but probably the biggest of the year or is right around the corner, which,
it's next weekend.
That's hard to believe.
I should probably get started on that. I don't know.
Yeah, it would probably be an idea.
maybe I should start about that. I just thought maybe I should start working on that booth. Now, all kidding aside, that booth is actually on its way right now. So let's go ahead. I'm going to share my screen with everyone here, and let's talk about these real briefly. So last week let's give a little bit of history, Tony. We had announced these back in November of 24, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And, we did our pre-order thing and everything was fine. And then they came in and a lot of people were excited, as anybody should be. This is the one where we finally did 6644. And I like it because it's basically a Spitfire paint scheme on an SD70ACu. And I'm sure a lot of people like that as well. Well, the good news is they came in, they got shipped, they went to hobby shops, they went to folks that had pre-ordered, all was right with the world. But then we started hearing some comments. And in fact, I saw some here on Train Tuesday. And folks were saying, well, I never got my pre-order. And then we had dealers starting to call in their sales reps and saying the same thing, or maybe they didn't get their full order. So we thought, okay, let's look into this. And it took us a little bit of time. We did some digging. This was more than just Athearn. It was our parent company, Horizon. And they did some digging and everything else. And, well, to quote Calvin and Hobbes, sometimes technology goes boink. For whatever reason, those pre-orders didn't go through. So rather than, have our customers left without, what we did is we started working with our factory. We scrambled and worked with our factory and said, hey, if we reopen these pre-orders for dealers and customers that had originally pre-ordered them, and guarantee them that they'll get their pre-order from 2 years ago, would you also make more in case somebody maybe missed out? Like myself, I didn't order 6644 and should have. So we opened that back up again. So briefly, the 5-pack, which that's brand new. We've done the other, locomotive separately. We hadn't done 6644 yet, but we did the whole set. And that's going to be available for pre-order. And of course, that's available with and without sound. So here's the one. And Tony, have you seen this guy in real life?
I don't think I've seen any. I've got pictures of them. I've run stuff, I believe, in Diesel Era. I know I ran a picture in Model Railroad News when Athearn announced. But no, I've not been lucky enough to catch those. And, I see a lot of CP stuff now with CPKC. that they've really been mixing the motive power, but I've not been lucky enough to catch any of the military
Yeah,
ones.
I haven't either. I've caught other CP units, but not any of the military units yet. So, but this one, of course, did. A lot of people are excited about this. And this is really cool how they did this. Now, if you want to learn more about this, if you're watching this for the first time, we do have a video on Train Tuesday that covers this a little bit more in detail. But briefly, this was the rebuilds from the old SD90s that CP had. And they kind of followed Norfolk Southern's um, move where they basically, Tony, you and I would call it in the car world. What do they call that? What do they call that? Resto mod, isn't it?
Yeah, where they took the 4390 Max or whatever that they ended up not
Yeah.
converting up, and but still need to do something with them. And yeah, both NS and CP have some of these.
Yeah. So at first glance, I mean, it's on the surface, you know, if it kind of looks like an SD70 Ace, but it's not. It kind of looks like an SD90, but it's not. No, it's an SD70ACu. That was a designation that Norfolk Southern gave it, and that's what CP calls them as well. And since they had such a unique unit, because currently, and I take that back, I think Ferromex actually has some SD70ACUs now, but at the time, only Norfolk Southern and CP had them. They said, hey, let's do some throwback paint schemes. Let's do some military tribute paint schemes. And this was one of them. This is 6644, the D-Day invasion tribute. And Tony, I think you and I have a shared interest as well in anything mechanical. So you and I both know exactly where this paint scheme came from. They literally just took it from a British Spitfire and added the Normandy D-Day invasion stripes.
It is very cool, and I love how the stripes roll up over the flared radiators in the back. Is just that's a sharp looking unit.
It really is. And if you miss this, don't worry. You've got until Friday to pre-order this. You can get it DCC ready. So if you have your preferred decoder and your preferred speakers, you can order it that way. If you'd rather just order it with the soundtrack Tsunami and have it all ready to go, you can do it that way too. So talk to your dealer. Likewise, if you did pre-order these and you didn't get them to this run, contact your dealer. Make sure that they've locked in the pre-orders again with your sales rep, because we don't want that to happen again. We want to make sure everybody gets their models. Tony, I think you've covered this one in the magazine. This is 7020. This is the what they call the Army version, but it's the temperate climate, you know, like the
Right.
NATO
Yeah.
green color. That's really cool. And it's really neat that the railroad did this, because there's a lot of folks that are veterans that work for the railroad. So it was a nice gesture on CP's part to do this.
I think the military stuff, as you say, I think most of us into railroading are also car guys. I know there's a lot of plane guys and stuff too. So yeah, there's that shared interest. So this kind of thing is a double neat that it's a diesel, but it's also in like military colors and things. And boy, they really look good. I mean, it's
It
a
really
neat scheme.
did.
I like that the trucks and the fuel tanks are also in that kind of fatigue green, but that's pretty awesome.
Of course, 7021. If do I dare say this, Tony? If you're old guys like us, you remember Desert Storm?
Yes, if you're old like us, yes, indeed.
You used to
Yeah.
think the guys that talked about Vietnam are old, and now we're talking about
And now,
Desert
yeah,
Storm.
but you're right. No, yeah, 30 some, yeah, like
Yeah,
more than that, yeah. And I do like that sand color again on these well-detailed Genesis 6-axle units. Look at all the piping underneath there and everything else that just stands out in these like lighter colors. The fans on the back there where you can see through the grates and everything on them. It's just really it's an awesome look.
yeah, it really is. You wouldn't think it would look good on a
Yeah.
locomotive, but it really is surprising. So they did two versions of the Army. Here's one that I thought just turned out really cool. And a lot of folks were saying, well, why is the bottom that orangey, not really orange, but like a burnt umber red? Well,
Yeah.
that's what in the naval terms of bootstrapping. You know, it's
Mhm.
the naval hull is that gray, and then they've got that black, and then the rest of the hull, the part that you don't see under the water line,
Right.
is that color there. And really neat. I mean, they basically mimicked modern paint schemes on military vehicles and just applied them to the SD70ACu. That is, except for 6644. And then you've got to have the Air Force. You're just talking about some of the guys that work for the railroad. They might have come back from background of military flying aircraft or just in general interest. And this one's really cool. This is the modern paint scheme of both the Canadian and the United States Air Force. So if you see a F-22 or an F-35 Joint Strike Fighter, they're typically painted overall. The top is a type of gull gray. I don't remember the FS numbers off the top of my head anymore. I used to know that kind of stuff, but if you read my newsletter, I did quote the FS numbers they used. And then you have the lighter gray for the bottom. Again, you wouldn't think it would look good on a locomotive, but here we are.
It's really cool. Yeah. I mean, again, it's basically gray. It's like, okay, it's undecorated with Canadian Pacific on the side, but it's like, no, look at the band across the top and the walkways, the area on top of the nose. I mean, for a gray scheme, it's really awesome looking. I saw someone in the comments said brutiful, which, yes, brute and beautiful together.
Oh,
It
okay.
is brutiful. Okay. Yeah, that is what that is. Yeah.
I got Delta 9 out there like calling me out. He's like saying it's boot topping. I'm going to go back to my Model Master days and think you're wrong. But anyways, we'll let it slide for now. So, yeah, I mean, just really cool how they did that. And I mean, that's pretty cool. Beautiful. I got to remember that.
That's a good one. That's a good word.
That's a good one. So who coined that? We'll have to find out.
I think that was Bradley Ogden as I saw in the comments.
There he is. Yeah, I see Bradley.
That's awesome. That's
good
awesome.
Job. Here, we'll give him some credit here.
And there's 5 of these. You're also doing they're just sold as a set as well.
Yeah, we're doing the 5 unit set. So, you know, originally in 2020, when this was brand new tooling, we did the first 2. I believe we did the Air Force and the Desert Sand version. And then the second one was the Green Army version. I take that back. Anyways, somebody in the comments will let me know. It's like I've slept since then, but you know, it's like comic books. Somebody will let me know that I'm wrong. No, they came out this date, this date, and this date. Long story short, we did the first 4, which were the technical military tribute units. And then the 5th one, which we had never done before, we sold it both separately and we sold it as a set. And the reason why we decided to do that was some guys knew we were going to do 6644. It was a no-brainer. It's kind of like watching certain movie franchises. You know they're not going to leave you hanging. There's going to be another episode. So we did that. And so for the folks that waited it out, they went ahead and they got these. Other folks, though, they collected them as they came in, and that's still not a bad thing to do because I think you've experienced for yourself when we started doing them as singles a couple of years ago, they sold out real quick.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So there you have it with the SD70ACUs. We won't talk too much about that anymore. But if you want to see the live feed that I did last week on these, as well as the Train Tuesday video, you can see those in on our channel. They're in the Train Tuesday and the Athearn Extra playlist. You can check those out and get more information. And if you think you've missed out on these, you've still got a few days to go ahead and lock those pre-orders in. Now, ones that we haven't talked about are these GP18s, Chicago Northwestern. And I know I'm getting you in the feelers with this one, Tony, because this is kind of, it's not quite your era, but it's not exactly too far from your era.
Not far. The rocks, definitely. Yeah, we'll get to those in this group of Genesis Jeeps, and those Blue the Rocks. I remember them very well. And I can remember seeing some of these Northwestern units hang. It's interesting because Northwestern seems to go through that change once the Powder River money starts rolling in. They go from a road that basically is keeping what they got going and had power like this to buying, you know, brand new, you know, big EMDs and GE power there at the end. But at times I forget that the Northwestern was kind of a scrappy road for quite a while, and that these kind of units hung around forever.
You know, the other thing too is the GP18. When you think of the early Jeeps, you know, you think of the 7s, you think of the 9s, you think of the 18s. You can certainly think about the 20s because some of the 20s came as high hood. but the 18s were kind of almost forgotten. They weren't produced as many as, you know, 7s and 9s. Yet in this run that we featured, you see a lot of them are still active. In fact, one is in my hometown. Well, it was in my hometown. They moved to railroads on the other side of the state, but still, my point being is, even though they didn't make many of these, it's kind of a transition locomotive between the 9s and the GP20s. And like you were saying, it was kind of shocking because Chicago Northwestern, kind of a scrappy railroad at this point, but they're like, you know what, we're going to go ahead and invest in these. And they did. And they lasted on the railroad for quite a few years.
Absolutely. Well, and I think you're even doing, these would have been, if they're 18s, they were built around 1960 or before. And yet
Right.
one of them was Northwestern's bicentennial unit. So
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that
mid-70s.
up.
And you kind of scratch your head thinking, really, that you're going to drag out this old Jeep and make it your bicentennial, not some brand new whatever? It's like, well,
Right.
there probably really wasn't brand new whatever, that they would have been getting ready to buy Jeep 15s and some of that stuff. But it's like, again, as I say, Northwestern was not overly rich at this point. So this is a real striking bicentennial too. I love all these bicentennials. And of
I do
course we
too.
got the 250th this year. And I already am seeing, as I'm sure you are, and a lot of the viewers are, all the 250th commemorative units that are starting to show up now. So it's fun to see kind of this whole new crop of those.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, going back to what you said about this unit, it's funny because I've got a lot of books on the bicentennial locomotives. And you're right. You see some of these class ones and what they're doing in their modern, you know, for the time, anyways, they're modern locomotives. And then you've got Chicago Northwestern, and they're like, hold my drink. Here's a
Yeah.
GP18. And but you know what? It's, in my opinion, it's one of the better looking bicentennial units.
It looks good, and it's not, I mean, you can see a little bit of the Northwestern's green and yellow. You know, a lot of railroads took their existing livery and then turned it patriotic. And there's a bit of that. The blue is kind of would be the green and the white was the yellow, but the striping and everything on the nose, you know, some of the early Northwestern schemes had some of those kind of chevrons or stripes to them, but it's a very unique scheme they did that, again, kind of preserves a bit of Northwestern's paint design, and then also kind of goes out with some new different things. And the striping on the short hood and across the cab is really awesome on that.
I think I've got one here in the studio. Let's do a little bit of
Ah,
rearranging here. Let's see. I'll minimize myself. There we are. So yeah, it's neat how they kind of incorporated the Chicago Northwestern paint scheme into that, and it looks really neat. Now, of course, this is in the mid 70s, and Tony, you'll probably know more about this since you're um, um, familiar with the Chicago Northwestern. But in the mid 1970s, a lot of railroads were starting to go to the strobe light or the beacon on their cabs. That was mainly for grade crossing protection, correct?
I remember seeing that on a lot of things for a while, like you say, in the Northwestern. I remember like TP and W, a lot of roads that never had those suddenly had those beacons for a time. And it's kind of one of those things comes and goes, but yeah, that definitely is not a as delivered feature for that 1776 to have that beacon on the cab. And it's so cool how great the electronics. I just have to stop and say the LED lighting and the things like the number boards illuminated when they do, and the ditch lights, and you know, this has not got ditch lights, but again, all of the different things that you guys constantly are updating, enhancing is so neat on these things. And that beacon has such a great look to it. You can see it here on the video, but you don't get the full effect like you do in person on these. So definitely, if you've not seen or played with one of these with the DCC control, it's really awesome.
Yeah, it's really neat. You can kind of see. I think I turned this. Yeah, I got the strobe on this one running right now.
Hmm.
Um, I'm going to put this comment up. They want to know, when we pre-order, are we required to make a down payment, or do we pay when they come in? Typically, most hobby shops, you need to talk to your Athearn dealer. Typically, most shops just want you to come in and say you're going to pre-order, and you can pick it up when it's in stock. There are some hobby dealers that may require a deposit, so it just depends on the dealer. So check your Athearn dealer, check with them. But if you want to add one of these Chicago Northwesterns, and I don't think this time I'm going to sleep at the wheel. I think I'm going to go ahead and pre-order this one.
Well, you've got a sample here. Is this a early sample, or how close are these to delivering? You say pre-order.
That's actually that's a production sample.
Production one. Okay, wow.
So going back to our pre-order thing with the SD70ACUs, we found that there was a lot of folks that wanted the Chicago Northwestern and, of course, the Rock Island ones, but for whatever reason, those pre-orders didn't go through. So once again, if you're one of those folks that pre-ordered one of the three or all three of the Chicago Northwestern and all three of the Rock Islands, and you didn't get those pre-orders, talk to your dealer, because they are open for pre-order again, and they'll be delivered this fall. Likewise, if you're like me and you were asleep at the wheel and you didn't pre-order this locomotive or any of the other ones that we're talking about, you've got till Friday, which is the 16th. You can talk to your Athearn dealer. They can lock in your pre-order. And by this fall, you can be enjoying one like I am right now. This is on loan, of course. But you could be enjoying one on your layout as well.
Wow.
Let's see. Let's get this guy out of here and go back to our presentation. And there's one more that we did. 1980s, a little bit different. Mm-hmm. You know, you had said earlier about the how the paint scheme on the Chicago Northwestern kind of mimicked its regular paint scheme, and I can see it now when I've got two pictures in front of me. I can see where they drew the inspiration. Really neat paint scheme. Now, Tony, since you're more familiar with Chicago Northwestern than I am, is this paint scheme, is this what they call the Zito yellow, or is this still the coach yellow?
That's still Stagecoach, yeah. The Zito color is that more fluorescent lighter, and you know came in later. So this, and with the striping on the nose like that, I think it's closer to its older look as well. Which is interesting too. This is one of the things that'll get me on when I'm trying to decide what to order or promoting the models in the magazine. It's not just like here in your Chicago Northwesterns, there's the bicentennial to cover. There's this one with the stripes on the nose. And I believe the one you showed originally is just kind of the more, it doesn't have the nose stripes. Yeah. So yeah, I run into this a lot too, where I'm like, oh wow, well, there's three different paint schemes for this one railroad. And it's like, they're all really cool. So it's surprising to, you know, the depth on some of the releases. As you say, 200 SKUs when you announce something is not uncommon, because there's a whole lot to it. Yeah.
Yeah. You remember in the old days of Blue Box, if you went and bought a GP40-2 for Chicago Northwestern, they all looked the same. They just had a different road number. And then as we all matured in model railroading, I think as a collective, we realized that they're not all really the same. And so Genesis came to be, and this is where Genesis really shines. Now you've got the same railroad, roughly the same era. I mean, you could justify running these about the same era, but you've got three different, paint schemes. So
yeah,
it's really neat. Now here's one that's both near and dear to both of our hearts. So Tony, I think you and I are about the same age. Considering that I watch the Rockford Files when I get home from work, I'm thinking we're probably the same age.
I was watching some of the Bionic Woman the other day. My sister had texted me, said, "So what are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm taking a break and I'm watching a third season episode of the Bionic Woman." Yeah. So
I keep meaning to change my cell phone answering greeting to Jim Rockford's, because it's classic. But anyways, I digress. I don't know about you, but when I was young, I really liked this paint scheme until I went to the Model Railroad Club, and the old guys are like, "No, that's a terrible paint scheme. It's bankruptcy blue."
Indeed, yeah. No, as a little kid, I mean, in the 70s, I was born in 66, so I'm like 10 years old when this comes out. I thought Amtrak was cool. I thought the Rock was cool. And then, you would talk to guys in hobby shops and other things, and it was like, oh, no. So, but luckily a lot of this has aged well, and there's an interest in things that I thought were cool as a kid that I was told then, no, it's not.
Yeah. And the good news is our customer base now agrees with us. There may have been a time back in the
Yes.
70s and 80s that this wouldn't have sold, but
Mhm.
I can guarantee you now it sells because we had to reopen these as well. A lot of
Wow.
folks, maybe they missed them, maybe their pre-order didn't go through for whatever reason. But we fixed that and we've gone ahead and reopened them. We've got 3 road numbers here. This is the first one, 4506, which is, I believe, still around. It's in a museum, isn't it, Tony?
There's one of them I know that, yes, and I forget where that was because I had just been looking these up. These are all the Silvis, for the most part, rebuilds, and Rock Island took in, I think these are all 7 Jeep 7Rs are the 3 that you're doing, but they took in 9s, and a few things from other, like some UP or, other people's Jeeps as well, almost like Illinois Central Gulf did with Paducah, but for the most part, the Rock had a healthy roster of 7s, 9s, and 18s that were in need of help. And this is one thing Silvis did, and it was right when the blue scheme hits in 75.6. And that's when these started coming back out of the shop. So it is neat that this is also road accurate. I'd point out you've got the engine access doors are added to this. They're
Mm-hmm.
up where the air horn is and the 2 exhaust stacks. Those access doors like that, I don't think are on the units originally. That came out as they came back from Silvis, and it's a really neat 70s era thing. I remember we chased a couple of these from Peoria up to Chillicothe, or Chillicothe down to Peoria when I was a little kid, and
Oh
I
wow.
shot Super 8 Kodachrome out of the car of these Jeeps kind of wobbling along there on the Rock Island. So
I know exactly where you're talking because I
yeah.
still rail fan up there occasionally. That is awesome. Yeah, I mean, this was all new tooling for us.
Ah,
Those access hatches that you're talking about, that's all new tooling. We'd never offered it before. The
wow.
thing that was so cool was we had thought there was a desire for these models, but we knew that in order for us to make these particular models, we would have to invest a lot of time and money into the tooling. But what we did was a couple of years ago, we launched a survey and we said, hey, if we run another set of GP7s, what are some roads you'd like to see? And Rock Island and the rebuilt Rock Islands overwhelmingly
Wow.
were the number one choice. So we were so excited to deliver these. And we did really well on these, but it looks like some folks were asking, hey, can we get these, especially if you can get them in the fall? So we've reopened the pre-orders on these as well. You've got until the 16th. And they're just, I don't know, it's a cool, I know to a diehard Rock fan they might not be the best paint scheme, but for somebody like me and you,
Mhm.
really like that paint scheme.
They were neat because, again, at the time in the 70s, I mean, Rock had just gone red in the early 70s with those Jeep 40s and then the big 6-axle U-boats and the SD40-2s, but most of the stuff I saw was in really rough shape, faded colors, the lettering we all have seen the pictures
Right.
of these sad Rock Island consists. So, again, most of this power, the blue and white, only gets a few years on the road. So, for the most part, the 38s they bought new, which you've done that, Genesis, before, for guys that wanna collect and have like road power. There's Jeep 38-2s in the Genesis line that have been done a few times, and then now these Jeeps are great, like, mid to late '70s Rock Island power.
Yeah. I jokingly say that the Rock Island is the Boston and Maine of the Midwest. I mean, there's so many commonalities there. And yeah, they both kind of went away in one way or another. But these, a lot of folks really wanted us to do these, and even though we were shocked at the amount of pre-orders, we realized, you know what, we could probably sell more, and if we can have them produced by this fall, should be a no-brainer. So again, if you're a Rock Island fan, or even if you're not, maybe you're just a fan of the paint scheme, you can pre-order these through your dealer on the up to the 16th, and you'll be getting them before the holidays next year. So you'll be able to enjoy them on your layout. And we'll probably see these in the pages of Motor Railroad News in the not too distant future.
Awesome, awesome.
I think I got one here on the layout as well. Let me remove. this, and there we go. So, like I was saying, that's new tooling. I'm going to try to move the camera so you guys can kind of see the new tooling on the roof. Let's see if I can get that camera steady. So there's the access
Yeah,
hatches we're talking about.
really sharp.
And of course, the headlight is new tooling. Let's see if I can get in there. There we go. It's a very cool model. And you know, the neat thing is, if you got a small layout like I do, I justify buying all three of them. I mean, you don't want to run the same one over and over again. You can mix and match. So there you have it. I mean, it's quite a bit to choose from. Tony, what are your favorites? You think?
The Northwestern Bicentennial, because we've talked about that before. There's not a Bicentennial that I don't feel like I have to buy, so that for sure. And yeah, those Rock Islands with the access hatches on top, one of those rebuilt Jeep 7Rs is pretty awesome as well.
Yeah, pretty cool. I wish I had been growing up out here and seen those. It's cool that you got to shoot some old film with that, and that is really neat. So at this point, Tony, you up for a few questions?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Let's see what kind of questions you might have, and we can answer those quick, and then we're going to let you guys get back to the layout because that might be what you're working on. So let me go into the comments here, see what kind of questions people have. Tom is here. He is my Rock Island guy. He was saying the first Rock Island rebuilt Jeeps from Morrison Knudsen arrived in the red and yellow colors, later painted blue.
Yep.
He would know because that guy is definitely a Rock Island guy.
If you're looking for, and it's an older book, but you can still find it. I think it was Lou Marie's Rock. It's a soft cover Lou Marie's Rock Island Motive Power book. I have a copy of it. My dad had a copy when it was brand new. I think it came out after the road was basically gone. So it's like 80, 81.
Oh,
And
this is the hardcover red. It's got a red cover.
No, this is a soft
Oh,
cover book. In fact, I thought I had it out just the other day. I probably have it handy here someplace, and you can still find copies of it. This is it. Yeah.
Oh, no, I don't have that one in my collection.
Yeah, and it's Railfax did it in the early 80s, and yeah, it is Lou Marie 1930 to 1980, all of Rock's diesel stuff. And that's anytime Rock stuff comes out, I tend to grab that book, and it's a nice book. All black and white stuff. It's an older book, but it's a great thing. And yes, what he was saying, MK out in Idaho, I guess it is, did those first of the rebuilds in that project before Silvis.
That's neat. We got another question on pre-orders. Wants to know if I pre-order from an Athearn website, do we pay when they come in? Yeah, you can pre-order through the Athearn website. We're not going to charge until they ship. However, I strongly suggest you find an Athearn dealer. If you don't have an Athearn dealer that's in your town or nearby, you can always order online. We've got a bunch of dealers throughout the United States and Canada that would be more than willing to help you out on those pre-orders. Let's see. We're not going to talk about where other projects are tonight. We're pretty much talking about the pre-orders, and I can tell you those are coming in this fall. So Frederick says he's got that book, Tony.
It's a great book, and you can still find it. You go to a lot of swap meets, train show things, you'll see used copies, and it's not that terribly expensive. So yeah, it's definitely one to have.
Mainline Model Railroad products. It sounds like you stopped in to see them recently.
I think that's in Springfield. Have you been there?
I have not.
I think that is over on it's on the east side, northeast side of Springfield. He's got new products, and he has a lot of used products, like buys stuff and brings it in. Really neat place. Definitely check that out. I wish I have his business card someplace here, or I'd read off the address, but Google that if you're in the Springfield area for sure.
Okay,
and
that's Springfield, Illinois.
Springfield, Illinois, yeah, because there's Springfields everywhere.
Oh yeah, so Alco Steams is just off, and I know where that is. So
yes, yeah.
I go down there.
I mean, it's really easy if you're on 55 going through Springfield either direction. That's really easy to get to for sure.
I always love these questions. What pre-orders will be arriving in the next few months? There's a lot coming in. We're going to be seeing FP7s. In fact, I think think you should be seeing some FP7s in Model Railroad News here pretty soon.
Yes, I do remember seeing some F units, and
Yeah.
when you were talking about those 70 ACUs, Ryan Crawford, speaking of Springfield, Illinois, is a Springfield,
Hmm.
Illinois native. He's one of the authors of the new White River Gateway Western book,
Hmm.
and he reviewed your SD90 Mac-H Phase 2 Union Pacific.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's in, I think it's in the March edition of Model Railroad News.
Oh
And
wow.
it's one of those where you did the legendary livery that UP had them, but they didn't have any with the Building America flag on the side.
Right. Yep.
And when I sent him that model to review, I remember he'd had it for a while and he goes, "This isn't real." And I'm like, "Well, what do you mean it's not real?" And he said, "I didn't, again, because they're done well enough. And it's one of those, well, almost could be, but no, like, yeah, they didn't quite last that long, but it's a fun review. I think we call it a rare Big Mac or something
Oh,
is
that's
the
cool.
thing. And there's a lot of pictures. And then I do, there's a couple pages on the prototypes to show you what they really were painted. Cause like one of them did get the winged UP shield on the nose as a repaint. So that's coming up in there as far as those were always interesting. Those convertible, the whole 4390 Mac thing
Right.
has always been and I think that's one of those things as rail fans and modelers, we're always fascinated by the odd ducks or the things
Right.
that didn't go, and that has kept those in our spotlight, whereas a lot of railroads are like, "Oh, yeah, they didn't work out. We got rid of them." But yeah.
And I remember, from a competitor's rail fan magazine when they announced them. I was still in college, and I think the tagline they used in their section to introduce the 80s and 90s was the intakes that ate Seattle or something, because it was it was
Yeah.
huge, because we had 70 Max at the time, and they just look like a regular
Mhm.
SD, and then you've got this thing that's got the I'm really dating myself now, like the flying nun look with those
Yeah.
and with those intakes and stuff. And I remember reading that though back in the 90s and thinking, "Whoa, this is really cool. This is the latest and greatest that EMD is providing." And you know, and little did we know that they really weren't really that great of a locomotive. They never really came to
It
be. They had
didn't co yeah, it
issues with
didn't
the
work
prime
out.
movers, and
Yeah,
yeah, so it's kind
it
of neat
happens. Yeah.
how that happens. A lot of folks that are pretty. I'm looking at the comments while we're talking. A lot of folks pretty excited about the Rock Islands. A lot of folks ask for Prime for Grime Rock Island, and it's funny when you say Prime for Grime Rock Island. Where my mind goes is the wasn't it Denver Rio Grande bought a bunch of former Rock Island, or was it the other way
Oh,
around?
other way,
Yeah, they bought the Denver Rio Grande.
they were near dead GP7s
That's
that
right.
Rio Grande was gonna trade to EMD, and Rock Island was in such bad shape that it's almost like your neighbor's getting rid of this used car they can't keep running, and it's like,
Right.
"Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. Can you take my Maverick or Pinto and trade it in, and can I have this old Mustang that you've been driving that you wanna get rid of?" And they took I think you guys did those because they were basically in Rio Grande
That's
paint,
right. A long time
and
ago. I
and
forgot
they
about that.
slapped the Rock Island Herald, up on the nose and ran them for a few years. So, yeah.
Let's see. We've got a question for both of us here from Anthony. He says, for Tony and Jim, can you run the Rock with Conrail? And Tony, are you going to Amherst? Jim, will there be any new announcements? So we'll start with the general question. Could you run the Rock Island with Conrail? I suppose anything is possible. I've not seen pictures of it. Have you?
No, but they would have both been around, like the Chicago area. And I think both were in Peoria and that. So yeah, those Jeeps, because aren't there? You've got Jeep 18s in that Athearn run, or the
Yep,
Genesis run of those as well. So yeah,
we
they'd be
do.
the
Yeah.
same era. Yeah.
Same era. Yeah. So, I mean, anything's possible. When you see a early 1900s steam locomotive switching propane tank cars in Monticello, anything is possible.
Yeah.
And then Tony, are you going to Amherst?
I have not been to Amherst in almost 10 years. And
Oh
I
my
think
gosh.
the last time I mentioned that, of all things, Mr. Sacerdoti was on a show or something with me, and he said, "Shame on you," before I could even fit. And it's like, I know, but no, I unfortunately don't have plans for
Ah,
this year. No.
One of my favorite shows, a show I've been going to ever since, well, even before getting into this industry. Um, so, are we going to have some new stuff at Amherst? There may be a new announcement that even Tony doesn't know about yet. So, stay tuned for that. We'll see what's going on. John has assured me that he is bringing a lot of stuff from product development. We've got some samples, we got some test shots, we've got some stuff that you guys are going to want to see. So we're bringing a lot of stuff, and yeah, stick around and pay attention to our social media feed, pay attention to our live feeds, and more importantly, if you haven't signed up, sign up for the Athearn newsletter, because we will definitely make it known as we get closer to the show if we're going to have an announcement. I'm pretty sure we're going to, so we'll have to stay tuned on that one. Let's see what any other. No hints. No hints. I can tell you this. I can tell you this much, though, Tony. One thing that's coming to Amherst that we're going to show is not even a train.
Oh, well, that has me scratching my head. Is it the new plane that you've been
Yes.
tooling? Ah, okay. See, I guessed it. All right.
Yeah,
Sorry.
the T28.
Spoiler.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We're pretty excited about it. We're gonna have some of the T28s there at the show, and this is the first time I've seen one up close. That's one of the downsides of working remote is everybody works in a different part of the country. So I see the finished, the product as you would see it. It's rare for me to see the early stages, and John sees that all the time. So he's going to bring some of the T28 samples, and I'm really looking forward to seeing that. Jason wants to know, are we going to Chattanooga this summer?
That's a national show, isn't it? Yeah. I have not made plans on that yet, but Chattanooga is not that far out of our stomping ground, so I don't know.
Oh, that is definitely on my bucket list. I am going this year. I'm looking forward to it. The Athearn booth is going to be there. It is our I think you already know this. It's our 80th anniversary. So yeah, we're going to go down there and have a good time. We're going to have some stuff, and I'm hoping John can join me again. I like it when John shows up for the show because he brings so much cool stuff to talk about. Let's see. Let's take one or two more questions, and then I know you are busy with Model Railroad News because that job just never ends, does it?
I'm working on Diesel Era this week. We're actually doing, in fact, y'all just did Sioux Line GP38-2s not that long ago. And I've got the first of 2 parts on a Sioux Line run of the GP38-2s, and then their fuel tenders will be in the first and second quarter editions of Diesel Era. And all that, both Model Railroad News and like Diesel Era, the Gateway Western book I mentioned, and all that, you can find out more at shop.whiteriverproductions.com and see all the different publications.
Definitely. That's I mean, you guys are every month you crank out another magazine. It's like a giant newsletter. It's great because you can keep track of everything. And there's something about having that magazine and just turning the pages and seeing the beautiful photography, seeing all the neat stuff, and of course, you don't just talk about the new product, you also do a lot of reviews on the products too. So if you are looking for a magazine to add to your collection, I highly recommend Model Railroad News. How many years has the magazine been going, Tony?
Let's see. I'm not quite half of every issue, I think, at this point. It was started in the 90s. So it's got a few more years than I've been with it, but yeah.
Yeah, that's Jason's telling us, and he's contributing, saying Model Railroad News is a wonderful magazine. It is one that I've told you this, and I've told Otto over at RMC. I do read it cover to cover because the quality of the magazine is really exceptional. The photography is great. Do you take most of the credit on the photography for Model Railroad News?
I do a lot of it. I've got light boxes and everything set up both here in my offices in Missouri as well as down in Texas. And so if a lot of the stuff you see is also credited to my helper, Pamela Varney does stuff for me as well. She's the proofreader and other things on Model Railroad News, and she does some of the photography. But yeah, we work really hard to really make sure that there's a lot of bang on the pages as far as seeing the color and, up close shots of the models to really get a look at them. Because so many things come in, sell out, they're gone. and it's like, wow, I didn't get to see that. So
Yeah.
it may be one of the only places you really get to see this stuff.
Yeah, that's true. That's really true. Well, Tony, I want to thank you for joining us. I got a lot of folks in the comments that are saying that you and I got to experience some of the great Southern food and cuisine down there, Chattanooga. I'm trying to lose weight, not gain it. Um, I want to thank you for joining me tonight on Train Tuesday and giving your cool perspective on the product as well as the prototype. Again, if you enjoy Tony's content and you enjoy his background in the hobby and the full prototype as well, consider subscribing to Model Railroad News. Anything else, Tony?
Thanks for having me, Jim. I really appreciate it. You and I haven't done a show in a long time. I don't do as much. I saw someone asking on because I hadn't been on Ray's What's Neat in Model Railroad. I've been so busy with finishing the gate. I did the layout for the Gateway Western hardcover book in addition to all the other magazine stuff I was doing. So yeah, I've kind of stepped back here in the last month or two, and I just haven't, with the holidays and everything else in the workload, been busy. You know how it gets.
Yeah, it does. It piles up quick, and it's we're always running. That's one of the good things about this hobby and this job. So with that, I want to thank you all for joining us on this Train Tuesday, special Train Tuesday. We'll have Tony back at some point on another live feed. Remember, everything that we talked about here on this episode, you have until Friday the 16th to place your pre-orders. If you missed out on the pre-orders, if your pre-order wasn't delivered, please check with your dealer and make sure your dealer has checked in with their sales rep. We want to make sure that everybody that pre-ordered does get their models. And if you didn't pre-order the first time, but you'd like to experience what your friends are experiencing, you too have until Friday the 16th to place your pre-orders and enjoy these models before next winter. So with that, I want to thank you all. Have a good night. Do some good modeling. And above all, high greens. Take care, everyone.